From a certain point of view, Old Ben Kenobi is one of the central figures of Star Wars. And now he's getting his own Disney Plus TV series. So let's dig deeper into the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to the Story Geeks show. I'm Jay Sherer, co-writer of Death of a Bounty Hunter and Time Slingers. The full cast audiobook of Death of a Bounty Hunter is now available not only via our website, but also on audiobooks.com and on Apple Books and on Downpour. It's getting added to all of the places where you can get audiobooks. So support the show by purchasing a copy. Links are in the description down below. And joining me today, Michael Young from NERDSoul. What's up, Michael?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. Glad to be here to talk Star Wars once again.
Yeah, Mike and I were just talking before the show started, and literally this is how Michael and I met. I was listening to him on a podcast with the internet's Mark P. Donica. And who is who is your other co-hosts?
Alexis Torres.
Alexis Torres, who's also been on the Story. The only one of you guys who I have not had on this show is literally Mark P. Donica. Everybody else in your crew has been on the show, but I used to listen to you on that, and then I said, you know what, I want to talk to Michael about Star Wars, and so I invited Michael, and he came over to my house, and I didn't even have a studio yet. I had a table.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool. We just had a table and we talked about Star Wars.
The dog was there.
And then we had In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was good times. But so Michael, you've gone on.
That's how podcasting should be. Like, come out, hang out, and then go to the restaurant.
Oh, I know. That is the most fun way of doing it. Pre-COVID times. Before I moved out of state and all of that. But so you're still doing NERDSoul. You're still talking about nerd stuff. You're also talking about pop culture stuff. And you do more shows than I think anybody that I know. You're always doing shows.
I don't feel like I do a lot of shows. I guess you always feel like there's new worlds from Star Trek out. I know we're talking about Star Wars today, but Star Trek does have a good show that's out. Halo just ended. We talk hip hop on Sundays, and I do gaming every now and then when I get a chance, because since I have a toddler, they usually want to play. So gaming is a little bit tougher, but I do a gaming podcast as well with some other friends like Open Mind and Groovy God and stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I was recently on your show, and we talked about, on one of the shows, we talked about Moon Knight, which is super fun. And on the other show, we talked about Doctor Strange 2, which pretty much everybody on that show loved Doctor Strange 2. And I was the only one that I was like, I don't know.
You were like, but that's why we needed you.
It's true. It's true. I was a blast.
Make sure that someone keeps us grounded.
Yeah, that's right. So definitely go. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that Michael has upcoming at the tail end of this show, but definitely follow NERDSoul on all the places that you can find it, and we'll give a shout out to all Michael's channels later on. But today we're talking about Kenobi because we're about to get a brand new Disney Plus series all about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
So let's start out with this Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this show is sort of like, if you were to think about why we're talking, we're just getting ready to experience Kenobi. And so we're going to do some retrospective. We're going to do some predictions. We're going to figure out what this whole Kenobi thing is all about. And it'll be fun. So let's start with this. Obi-Wan Kenobi appears in many different iterations within the Star Wars universe. In fact, I just finished, I was doing a reel. And on the reel, I found 12 different people who have played or voiced Obi-Wan Kenobi. 12 different people. Like, this guy's all over the place.
12.
I'm
trying to think. 12? Man.
Yeah, 12. Because here you've got so this is just bonus content, but you've got all the live action ones, which you already know. Then you've got all of the main ones that are all voiced by the same guy. His name, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He has one of those
like
Clone Wars names. Stuff. Yes, for Clone Wars and all those. Then you've got video game people who are voicing one of the video games.
Yeah, all the games.
Yes. Then you've got Seth Green.
Audiobooks.
You got audiobooks. There's two different. There's the audio drama, and then there's the read along. Those are the back in the day ones. And then you've got Seth Green doing the parody for Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
And then there was an episode of Family Guy where Mark Hamill did the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's so many voices. Obi-Wan's all over the place.
Okay.
He first
So we
appeared in
know
A
him
New Hope. Yeah, we know him well. We know him well. He first appeared in A New Hope. We saw him briefly in both The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Then we went back in time to the prequel era, and we followed his journey of training under Qui-Gon Jinn for a limited period of time. And then he became a Jedi Knight, then a Jedi Master. Then he's in the Clone Wars. He's in Rebels. His voice is in the sequel trilogy, although he does not appear in the sequel trilogy. And then there's all the video games, comic books, novels, all this stuff. And we're about to see him in this new Disney Plus series. So here's my first question for you, Michael.
Okay.
And we can do like a top 5. We can do a top 3. There's no structure to this question. But what are some of your favorite appearances? And what are your favorite moments that we have had with Obi-Wan Kenobi?
All right. Favorite moment, kind of, I guess you could say like a collection of Attack of the Clones. When Obi-Wan goes on this sort of detective journey to find out, like, okay, hold on, all right, there's this assassin. All right, okay. All right, well, who's this Jedi guy? All right, well, where's this planet? And like all of these little, I really enjoyed that. Now, there's other things in the movie, but that detective story, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like I truly enjoyed that, just that kind of side of him or Jedi in general, that we don't get to see. I thought that was well worth the watch and well worth just like the time. Yeah. And I know this is the sequel trilogy, but hearing his voice was good. I enjoyed hearing his voice. So I guess that's 2. I enjoyed hearing his voice. Number 3, which may be my favorite, was all right in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
When Qui-Gon gets cut. I mean, he gets stabbed or whatever, he's dead.
Yeah.
And he has to wait. And of course, you see Darth Maul pacing, but he's like, you know what? Let me center myself. But when that door opened, he was like, so that just showing how he was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to be cool. And then see him explode, from those little, like, I guess ratios opening, for him exploding in a full-on run to attack, that was cool. That I've always thought that was awesome. Then on the animated side, when he and Ventress are fighting against Darth Maul and the other one, I cannot remember. You guys are going to kill me for this. But the guy that Darth Maul was training, when they went back to Dathomir and got the new guy. So when they're both fighting against them in the ship in that cargo hold, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I've always thought that was cool. Clone Wars has a lot of awesome fights that I think maybe due to time we just like forget them or overlook them, but Clone Wars has some awesome fights, like some extremely cool stuff. So that just Ventress is just an awesome character in general. I've always loved Ventress. And then the kind of the way he handled himself in Mos Eisley. You don't see him be too flashy, but when instead of being reactionary, I mean, I guess you could say kind of reactionary, because the guys at the bar did start it, and they started kind of like you knew a fight was coming, but before a fight went too far or anything, he was just like, all right, let me stop this now. All right, let's stop the madness before we just like chop your arm off. All right, now get out of here. Like he didn't like let it get too far. But maybe that's because when you get older, you don't got time for it. It's just like, look, I know what I want. I know where I want to go, and I don't want to waste any time. All right, I want to go. Look, we got to get to Alderaan. All right, I'm not. Look, all right, I don't want to mess with you guys, so I don't got time for this. So I did. I like that. I think those are my moments. Those are my 5 that I really enjoy. And seeing him in this new trailer, it's going to hopefully answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
In this series, and not create any fissures with the timeline.
That's one of the big questions that we're going to get to, because It is what is going to happen. I mean, like, there's so many questions that we're going to address there. So let me throw out a couple of my favorite moments. But before I do actually, which Kenobi is like your favorite Kenobi? Like, do you prefer the animated Kenobi? Do you prefer Old Ben Kenobi? Do you prefer Ewan McGregor? Like, who's your favorite?
Probably, oh man, probably animated. Because you just get to do more. He's a little more active. You see him with Quinlan Voss, which is one of like my more favorite Jedis, especially when you read Dark Disciple, which is kind of a sad story, but probably animated Ewan and then Old Ben.
All right.
Because I think that's where I put him. I think even not that I don't like Old Ben, but Old Ben, he didn't, I mean, he couldn't really get around like he used to.
That's true. Actually,
and I think he was at the age where he could have been past all of the, the subtext, like, Darth Vader killed your dad. It's like, well, it is my dad. but I understand. I get what he meant, but you also know what we mean.
Yeah, from a certain point of view. Now here's the thing. I actually like Old Ben Kenobi the best, but there's a big caveat here: is that Alec Guinness clearly just does not want to play that role and thinks that George Lucas is a fool. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, what are we doing? What am I doing out here in the desert? What am I doing, like chopping people's arms off? Like,
this is a stupid movie.
Yeah, yeah. You can kind of tell but because he's professional enough. Here's my thing. I really enjoy seeing like people who like lived it up back in the day and now are faced with like, wow, life has changed. Like, life has gotten a lot more difficult. It's gotten a lot more simple. What I thought was true about life is no longer true about life. I like those kind of characters, which is why I like him. But he is in one of the worst lightsaber battles in the history of Star Wars when he fights Vader on the Death Star. Because they're basically like this and then this, and then they are not doing much. Yeah. It is not, but I like.
But the tension is there.
The tension is there. And I also, some of my favorite moments. I agree with you. Duel of the Fates. First of all, at the time, it was the best lightsaber fight that we had ever seen.
Yeah.
Amazing lightsaber fight. Amazing drama. Like, you just talked about your favorite moment where literally his Jedi master is killed in front of him. He has to fight going full dark side anger moment. So that stuff to me was really, really cool. I love that moment. I am not as familiar. I have watched the Clone Wars, but I have not seen every single Clone Wars episode. So the Clone Wars that I'm familiar with, I do love, but I'm not familiar with all of it. I am excited to see Ewan McGregor come back, but I think I would go Old Ben, animated Obi, and then Ewan McGregor. Not because I dislike Ewan McGregor, but
there's also the Genndy animated Obi-Wan.
Yes,
I forgot, on Cartoon Network.
Yes,
I have that. Man, all right. So you have to buy. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. I remember seeing it in Walmart and I bought it. But it used to be they show you like a 2-minute chunk on Cartoon Network.
That's right. Yeah,
like twice a week. It was Cartoon Network. The way they aired things was horrible. Like, see, you young whippersnappers will never understand. All right, waiting until Friday to get a new Young Justice and a new Clone Wars. You just won't. You never understand. You have to wait, and if you miss it, that's it.
Like, totally.
They might rerun it on Saturday, maybe.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, that's true. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think you can watch that on Disney Plus right now.
Huh? I wonder.
I gotta look that up. Don't take that as the truth, but I feel like it might be on there. So I think all the moments you mentioned were great. I'm not familiar with the Obi-Wan love story. I know that occurs in the Clone Wars. There's a whole love story that I'm not as familiar with that.
what is his girl's name?
Yeah, I
and that
can't remember
was
either. Every
season
time I
5.
think of that person, I think of Sabine, and I'm like, it's not Sabine, but it's something.
Yeah,
I feel like
Satine. It was
Satine.
Satine, and her sister is uh, uh, red hair. She's in she's in the Mandalorian, and you
Right.
see, it's escaping me. I know Star Wars people are like, you don't know her name, but
Yeah, played by Katie
Satine.
Sackhoff. But I even know who
Yes,
the
yes.
actress is. I just don't know what the names
I
are.
can't think of her name, but yes, Satine was his girl from way back.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
back in the days, had a little thing. And he was like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
my boo. That's probably why he didn't say anything to Anakin, because he was like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One time I was out there in the streets, I saw this Don Breezy. Couldn't do nothing. All I could do is just, I still had to keep my Jedi about myself.
That's right.
But,
by the way,
so,
your moment,
that's cool. That's cool.
Your moment I thought was a great pickup is that if you had if Disney Plus was if the new Disney Plus series was Obi-Wan Jedi Detective, oh man, I am in because that was cool. Like I even love the scene where he is sitting with Dax in the diner and he's sitting across the table from him. Like that's cool, man. I like that
when
scene.
he was
That's a
scratching
great
his
scene.
butt and stuff.
Yeah. Of course, you have to have that in the.
Of course, you got to have the diner where they kill the roach and flip your eggs with the same spatula. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
right.
like, I mean, and people, those places never get shut down. Shout out to all the Waffle Houses in the South. Yes. That's why I do not go there. I know what you do. I know what you're doing.
You think that Coruscant, with all of the Coruscant like nobility and all that kind of stuff, you think that they would shut it down, but no, they just keep it running.
No.
You gotta love it.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
They need a place to go to get information.
That's true. That's so true. But yeah, there's I think obviously we got some other classic moments that people would say are their favorites, like the whole high ground scene in Revenge of the Sith, right? What are some other moments that well now here's one that I need to go rewatch. But okay. I didn't get into Rebels as much. So I've seen the most Clone Wars. Okay. I saw a few episodes of Rebels, but I went and watched the final episode or whatever, where we get the battle between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan.
That's on another level too.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy scene. I gotta go back and watch it.
Not because the fight is so great.
Yeah.
But you see the vast difference in skill level now. Like back then, we were probably on the same playing field. When you first met me, when we fought again, matter of fact, you were stronger than me. Then when we fought again with Ventress and stuff, we were head to head. You might have even had an edge on me. But now, he finished him in 5 moves, I think. I watched that scene. Yeah. I watched that scene, I counted it. He finished him in 5 moves. But then was compassionate about hey, look, it's been kind of us for so long.
Yeah.
So long has been us hating each other, and now it's finally over. And then you can even sort of see the withered desperation of Darth Maul. It's kind of sad to see him like that.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So that was cool just because he was like, look, I don't want to fight you. And then once he brought up that he knew that Luke, well, he didn't know who Luke was, but he knew there was another Jedi there. He was like, all right, gotta go down.
Yeah. Well, and that's another reason, that whole scene is another reason why I love the older characters in Star Wars, because we get the Jedi Council in the prequel trilogy, and it's we know how to be a Jedi. We know everything. We know all there is to know about being Jedi. We're awesome Jedi. Yep. And it's nope, you're the worst Jedi. It's awful. It's really, you guys should take a look in the mirror because you guys are not good Jedi. And then you get to the original trilogy, and you see an old Ben Kenobi and a Yoda who they're less confident, they're less arrogant, they're not sure. They're trying to give Luke good advice, and they sometimes give him good advice, they sometimes give him bad advice. Hey, you shouldn't save your friends. Exactly what he should do, right? So So when you see Obi-Wan in that Darth Maul fight, I feel like it's Obi-Wan full circle. It's like, I made the mistakes as a Jedi Council member. Then I had everything go downhill. Then I was kind of scared trying to put things back together with Luke. And now I'm a little bit more like forgiving. I've just got to be careful. Obviously, this happens before the original trilogy occurs.
Yeah.
But it's still an Obi-Wan that you feel like he has learned some things from his prior experience. And I like that kind of character. That's a cool kind of character.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Jedi. It's like that. All right, I'm not a Sith Lord. I don't like the Sith. We gotta continue to maintain balance and keep the Sith and evil and the darkness at bay. But man, the Jedi, it's hard. It sure is hard, man. It is hard. You look at Luke and what he did with Grogu. It's like,
yeah.
But at the same time, Luke has to get to, guys, the movie exists. All right. He has to get to Last Jedi to where he throws the saber away.
Yeah.
You can all right, let me say this. You can still have a similar scene where he doesn't take the lightsaber, but it's not played for comedy.
Right.
You can have him hold the lightsaber and literally see the weight of the lightsaber and its history on his face.
Yes.
And then him hand it back to her and say, I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
and boom, you get someone who gives the lightsaber back, but you provide a different history to it.
Yes.
Instead of let's not go. Older Jedi just be messing up, man.
Yeah, you know, like I think there's an interesting lesson to be learned from the Jedi of the younger Obi-Wan era. And I think Obi-Wan learns the lesson, actually, which is what's so interesting about Obi-Wan's character, because the lesson from the Jedi Council of the prequel era, and I feel like this is true if you take it from a spiritual perspective, you take it from a political perspective, you take it from a societal, cultural perspective, but when you try to demand, when you try to overregulate, when you try to make people adhere to the thing that you think is the best thing, you almost are like asking for a rebellion against that, right? And so I feel like what the Jedi were doing was that they were not allowing for individualism, and they were not allowing for the Force to work through people. They had a regimented set of like, this is how the world works and this is how we behave.
Outside of people like Quinlan Voss, where they were like, yeah, he's part of us, but
right, exactly.
Quinlan Voss, you're like, hold on, how do you get when you're at that job when everybody has to follow the rules, but there's like that one guy that doesn't follow the rules, but he still doesn't get fired, and you're like, how can he do this? And somebody's just like, look, his dad is a master, so we just let it slide.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Anakin feels. Anakin is us in that scenario. Like, wait a minute, you got this guy here, and you're not going to let me be even trained? I don't even understand this. But I was thinking about this the other day because I was going down memory lane to when I was a young kid, and I was listening to a bunch of mid to late 90s, even early 90s, some early 90s. I was born in the early 80s, and I was listening to some of the grunge music and the alternative music, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this is, there's like Disturbed, and I'm listening to Disturbed, and I'm going, this is not something you hear anymore. And it just made me think, like, how do we have things like that we can have a healthy conversation about? Because it's probably not what we want people to invest their time in, but it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing as in the early 90s and in the late 80s were like a really good time period for this, but we had rock and roll that was edgy. We had hip hop that was edgy. And it was like, anytime you try to censor that stuff, it feels like it just makes that more appealing to younger people. And it's almost kind of like, why don't we just invite younger people into that conversation and say, yeah, let's listen to this stuff. But just because you listen to Disturbed doesn't mean that you can go shoot up a school. I mean, like that, like this is a way to get your energy out and a way to express yourself without building it up so that it gets so. So, anyways, I'm getting way too deep.
And it
now,
was,
now.
And they are actual emotions people are thinking about.
Yes.
And nobody ever was like, well, hey, why is someone this young writing lyrics like this?
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever asked.
Exactly.
Nobody ever asked those questions.
And I think that's the same thing. It's like, it's almost like Anakin is like the rebellion against what the Jedi Council is saying, like, must be done. And you can take that. I was saying, like, you can take that in religion too. Like, look at the Roman Catholic Church when it had people rebel against it back in the fall of the Roman Empire days. Then look at more recently the evangelical church in America and all the people that are like, I'm out, sorry about it. Like, you guys are getting too, you're like trying to dictate everything for me now. I mean, so there's something very powerful about Obi-Wan's journey by learning from the guys and a few girls, but mostly guys, that said this is the way things have to be. And then he learns all of how that's wrong. Then he has a big rift between him and his best friend, essentially, his mentee. And then now he's an older guy. And so we get to see him as this older guy. So hopefully he'll be wiser. Hopefully he'll be more understanding of what's going on.
He learned a lot from Ahsoka too. Remember the trial that because when Ahsoka is my favorite Jedi.
Nice.
But I used to hate her.
Oh, really?
When that Clone Wars movie came out, I was like, who is this character? He's dumb. We don't need kids around. Why do we have kids? But by the time she goes through her trial of being falsely accused, hunted, and then finally exonerated, and see her walk away, I'm like, don't leave. We need like no. And so Obi-Wan witnesses that. I mean, more so Anakin, but then when you see her reconnect with them to go find Darth Maul again, and she's kind of like you're not my boss anymore. Like I don't like. I'm here to work with you, but I mean, like I don't need you. Like I'm just letting you know what's going on. I'm letting you know that this dude is here. He's doing something. There's some kind of other Sith people around. Something's going on. I'm letting y'all know. So it is very interesting to see the relationship then, and then I guess kind of inferring the lessons that he's learned from that.
Yes. Yeah, so this is perfect because, well, first of all, the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars are some of the best Star Wars out there. Those last 4 episodes are fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. And all Ahsoka, and by the way, I was with you. I was in the same page. I was like, man, do we really need a kid? You know, like, is that really something? But Rosario Dawson is that character?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Even though I love Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
But her being alive now raises new questions.
That's true.
Questions that I don't want to ask about my favorite Jedi. Because I'm going to be like, all right, hold up. So why did you feel like helping with but hopefully they're going to answer all these questions like, oh, she was in the time world place or something like, I don't know. Maybe they're going to explain something like that. But her existence, even the whole part where Mandalorian goes to see, you can see her, even though she says, I'm not a Jedi, you see her kind of upholding those things like, you can't see him. It's like, well, first thing, why are you even here?
Yeah.
Who are you, the bodyguard? Like, why are you even here? And then also, I didn't know you knew Luke.
Yeah.
Okay, true. That brings in other new questions. These are all kinds of things that people are gonna be like, it really would have been great if her story just ended and she died, or like maybe went off somewhere, because now you're gonna start adding in new questions that people might not want to ask.
That's true.
Or you might not want asked.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it that way, but that is very true. But it does seem like both. Now, granted, we all know the sequel trilogy did this when it should have done that, right? Like we all know that it went right when it should have gone
left. We all
left.
know that it had no plan because JJ said it himself.
Yeah, exactly. So we all know that happened. But I will say that I think that Ahsoka's character is very similar to what we thought was going to happen and hoped what was going to happen to Rey's character, which is we learned what the Jedi Council was doing wrong, and we learned that we could actually probably do a better job out on our own, right? And I think that that's an interesting take, and I like that take, and I think Ahsoka's perfect for that take. So that's kind of why I like the Rosario Dawson character. But you're right, it raises a lot of questions.
It just raises like continuity questions.
Yes,
like seeing her in the fight scene in Mandalorian 2, like all of that is cool.
Yeah.
Having her as a character, the prosthetics and everything, and the makeup and all of that is great. It just brings up questions like,
yeah, what were you doing? Like, she's probably on Scarif having a Mai Tai while everything else is going down afterwards. It's like, I'm not sure.
Scarif hanging out. It's nice and comfortable. It's the island planet. It's like if Bahamas was a planet, just chill out, coconut drinks and stuff.
Exactly.
I still can't believe they made Scarif the home base of the Empire. You're going to be mean to everyone else, and then you're going to go back to the beach. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, how bad is it if you get a Death Star job instead of a Scarif job? Like, come on, man.
Like, everybody's like, man, please let me get the Scarif position. Yes.
Exactly. You're like, oh, okay, so it's either going to be Tatooine, the Death Star, or Scarif. Okay, what are we doing here?
Man.
Oh, that's rough. All right, let's transition into we've covered a lot of Kenobi's history. Great historic stuff here. Now this show is going to take place on Tatooine after Order 66, which is part of the reason why Obi-Wan has to hide. Yes. And we know that Kenobi is attempting to escape from the Empire so that he can hide. And he's probably considered public enemy number 2 behind Yoda, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If
they believe Yoda is alive or not.
True. That's a good point. Because the dude is 900 years old. So we don't know. We're not sure. So he's one of the top public enemies of the Empire at this point in time. And we also see in the trailer that he sees it as his job to protect young Luke. In fact, Uncle Owen is throwing shade in the trailer too, man.
I love that scene where he's like you trained his daddy. Remember how that worked out? Do you remember that?
Exactly. We need an hour of Uncle Owen stand-up comedy is what we need.
Because he's like, yeah, remember his dad, all of this, people scared, running, getting beat down, evil Jedi, they're called Sith, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
You remember that other point of view that some other people had that you didn't kill Vader didn't kill Anakin? So here's my question for you though. What do you think that this show is specifically going to be about? You probably having more depth of knowledge of the Inquisitors. Maybe you're further along than I am about what this story could be about. What do you think this is going to be centered around?
What I'm guessing they're going to do is sort of what I wanted to see, which is Obi-Wan kind of like hiding on the run from the law. And I guess by the end of the series, maybe finally settling in Tatooine, hidden, maybe, because I do like the idea of him being on the run. Not too many. He doesn't have too many friends. There's wanted posters everywhere. Everywhere he goes, someone's snitching on him, calling. You either have people calling the Empire, or you have the little snitch droids that's like seeing them. All those things, and kind of similar to Days of Future Past cover, where they're like backed up against the wall and the lights are like something like that. Hopefully, because that's the vibes that I'm getting, and that's something that I've always wanted. Outside of that, maybe a reconnection, maybe a reconnection with Vader. I don't know how that goes, but in the trailer, the Inquisitor that's on the rooftop, she says, like you can't get away, something like you can't get away from him, or something like that. Or like you can't win, you can't get away from him. And I'm assuming him is Vader. Like can't get away from Ronald. All right.
Yeah.
Ronald in accounting made sure there's your final check and you can't get away from him. So I'm sure she's talking about Vader, hopefully. But she could be talking about the other Inquisitor that we see in Rebels, which honestly, for the makeup, is pretty cool. The outfit doesn't seem to really jive the same, but the makeup, like the face makeup, is crazy how good they're getting with makeup and how like real these aliens look and stuff like that. But I guess to him, he's not an alien. He's like, no, you're an alien. I'm regular me.
That's true. That's true.
So that's what I'm thinking we're gonna get. Kind of on the run, hiding out, and then maybe finally ending up in Tatooine where nobody knows where he is.
Yeah.
And then just kind of staying quiet after that.
Now, I feel like I should know the answer to this, but are the Inquisitors essentially out there to find other Jedi and still execute Order 66? Is that what their purpose is?
Yes. So Inquisitors essentially are supposed to root out any last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then finds Force-sensitive children in either or bring them into the Empire, because we can't have new Jedi. And I assume that's why Yoda and Obi-Wan would be the biggest threats, because let's say there's a young Force-sensitive kid born, and the kid is like, hey, I don't like the Empire, I want to fight back. But they don't have a master to teach them, so they don't really have any skills.
Right.
But if they had a master to teach them, then that could make them even more dangerous.
Right.
In the future, I would like to see a self-taught kid that ends up being like crazy good because he wasn't restricted by the lessons of the Jedi. Like he was able to be creative with his usage of the Force, but that's a fan theory and fan.
I like that. I want to see that.
So I would like to see that, like a kid that kind of like went out on his own and kind of like learned on his own the things that he couldn't do, and it helped him push past like the regular Force usage things we've seen.
And the Inquisitors are primarily after Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I don't think. Are there any other? We see Ahsoka come in in like season 4, 3, something like that.
Okay.
So I think we see her come in as the secret contact, maybe at the end of season 3, something like that.
Okay.
But it's mostly Ezra and Kanan. Okay. And Kanan, who unfortunately, kind of sacrifices himself. But he was, I know this is going to sound bad, he was super cool once he got blind. I know that's not good. He's like, I don't think I was super cool. That sucked. But Kanan was already kind of cool. But like once he went full like Daredevil, he was on another level.
That's awesome. Yeah. I still want to go back and watch that at some point, but it's like there's just so much content that we got to watch these days that someday I'll go back.
The good thing is they're short episodes, because now you're watching a 30-minute show without commercials, so you can blast through a season probably in a day.
Oh, that's not
you're
bad.
Talking about, you're talking about maybe 3 hours or so, maybe 4 hours, and you just like mow through it. So
nice. Okay, so I think I'm going to take something you said earlier in the show, and I'm going to bring that up as a possibility that I think would be amazing. And that is, we know that Obi-Wan is not on Tatooine the entire time, because you said it. She's standing on top of the building. They seem to be in a planet that's like a. I think they've already announced what planet it was that he's on, but it feels like a Nar Shaddaa type of planet, like a sort of a bounty hunter-ish kind of hut planet of some kind. But how cool would it be if he is doing his old school detective work when he's off Tatooine? Like that would be cool if he's out. Like maybe, like for example, maybe he's trying to find where Yoda is and he doesn't know. Like that would be interesting. Probably not.
Did Yoda
but
tell him he was going? I don't think Yoda told him where he was going.
all we know,
Yeah,
I think
did he
all.
say he was going
Yeah,
to
did
take
he?
him?
That's a
I
good
can't
question.
remember.
Did Yoda tell him where he was going? I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Somebody will know. Somebody will comment
Yeah,
down
somebody
below
will
and
tell
let us
us.
know. But that would be cool as if he was trying to figure out, or maybe he's trying to figure out how to meet Ezra Bridger or something. I don't know. But whatever it is, that could be like the detective stuff. I think that would be really fun to bring that aspect of his character back into the Star Wars thing.
Because that could, if he's doing something like that, someone could say, "Hey, I think I saw this guy. I'm not sure." And then that's when because we hear the line in, I think, the first trailer where the Inquisitor from Rebels basically says, like, they can't help themselves. Like the nature of the Jedi,
Yes.
like they have to help people. So if we just go put people in danger, dude's gonna come around. Like that's all we had to do. Just go commit atrocities. They'll come running because they cannot help themselves.
Exactly.
So maybe someone's like, "Hey, I think I saw this Obi-Wan guy you're looking for, but I'm not sure." And they're like, "All right, well, if he's here, we can root him out," and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So maybe that's something that, because I remember that quote from that paraphrasing that quote from the trailer where, yeah, you kind of just have to go and kind of like press people sooner or later. If someone is either anyone who wants to play a hero, you can get rid of them, or if there really is a Jedi out there, you can get rid of them. Now, the only thing is, that's pretty arrogant, but Sith are arrogant because you don't know who's like, you don't know the level of Jedi out. You don't know, like, what
exactly.
It could be someone who has like a little bit of skills, like maybe they were like almost a Jedi Knight when Order 66 happened, or this could be like a full-on master that has still trained and kept up their skills but just haven't done anything. So like you're taking a big chance doing something like this.
Yeah. There's so many places they could go. I don't know. I think that when it comes to this show, I'm nervous about it because what have we seen? We've seen Inquisitors, we've seen Obi-Wan, we've seen Luke, we've seen Anakin. Like, we've seen all the characters that you would think these are all pivotal characters. So whenever you're using pivotal characters, it feels like this is a part of the story that if you told us that Obi-Wan just went from Order 66 to just living on Tatooine and never doing anything else, he's just a hermit, you'd be like, okay, I can probably buy that. Like people do that in real life. You know what I mean? Like they go, like, something big happens in their life and they just go hibernate.
They just shut down.
They just shut down. So we kind of believe that could happen. The problem is when you bring a character back like this, and then you also bring back Hayden Christensen as Anakin, by the way, as Darth Vader. What you're kind of suggesting is that there's going to be some massive clash between these characters, and you're like, but how does that fit? Like, how do we get
in the original trilogy? It comes off like they haven't seen each other for a long time, but still, if they fight now and still don't see, that still is kind of a long time because you're all right. So Luke in A New Hope is like 17. I guess.
Yeah, 16, 17, somewhere around there.
So we see him now. He looks like he's 6.
Yeah.
Kids are at that weird age where you don't know how tall they are. So,
yeah.
Because he's sitting down, so he's 6, 5, something like that. So maybe, I mean, 10 years is still a long time. I mean, it's not forever, but it still is. True. So maybe they're able to play with it that way, where it's like, okay, we can have them fight one more time,
right? And
then we can still play it off like, I mean, 10 years is a while.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah. But it's going to be strange. I think I'm hoping for the best because one of the things I did like a reaction video and I said, look, I'm excited about this because I'm excited about Star Wars. You tell me there's a new Boba Fett series, I'm excited about it. You tell me there's a Mandalorian, I'm excited about it. The problem I have is I really still want them to move away from the Skywalker saga. And like, let's just move away from that. Like when we saw the Mandalorian, and I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't awesome to see Luke Skywalker show up in the Mandalorian. That was awesome. However,
but it wasn't about Luke.
Right, exactly. It wasn't about Luke. And when we were with the Mandalorian and he didn't need to connect to all these other storylines, that was still enough. That was still great. So
and we got a lot of, especially when he was with those bounty hunters, just hearing how they talked about the galaxy in general. Like those offhanded comments about like the Gungans and stuff like that. It was just like interesting. Like, oh, okay, so this is how people feel about things and how they feel about the Empire and how they feel about the rebels. And because there is that middle area where it's like, look, who cares, man? I mean, we're screwed either way. Like, I mean, that's kind of, there's a certain energy about politics now where it's like, it doesn't matter who's in charge. Like, nobody's really trying to fix anything. It's on lock. The corporations own this, or they run that, or they hide this and they hide that, and nobody cares about the average regular person just living and working in the nation. So you have those people that feel that way. So it is good to see that even in the galaxy, there's still that kind of energy where it's just like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we win, if you guys win, if they win. I'm still a bounty hunter. Like,
right, exactly. Actually, that's kind of like, it goes back to that whole Skywalker thing. It's like George Lucas was trying to create archetypes. He was trying to create. He said it's a soap opera, a family soap opera, and I think that when you make it about the family soap opera, there's a lot of the rest of us who, like, I've always gravitated toward the bounty hunters and stuff like that, because I don't feel like, I'm not gonna roll with the Clintons and the Bushes and I'm not gonna roll with those people. I don't want to, I'm not gonna do that. And so I think that there are so many good stories to tell in the Star Wars universe. It makes me nervous when they keep going back to the same saga, the same characters, the same thing. So I'm excited about this, but I'm still hoping that they'll move into another, like, did you ever play any of the Old Republic games, like Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2?
No, but I've watched the like cut scenes and stuff.
Oh yeah. So,
which are incredible,
dude. Before The Mandalorian came out, Knights of the Old Republic was probably like my favorite Star Wars thing. The first Knights of the Old Republic was amazing. Great storyline. Didn't have anything to do with the Skywalker saga. You didn't even hear a Skywalker name being brought up. And it was still about Jedi. It was still about Sith. It was still about like people trying to control things, and you had a certain destiny and all those kind of things. So I would really like to see some more of things, whether it's High Republic, whether it's Old Republic, just breaking out of this mold of saying we got to have it be in the Skywalker saga. So that's my jam. But every time I see Ewan McGregor, every time I see Hayden Christensen,
you get excited.
I get excited, man. Like, it's hard not to get excited. It is what it is.
I'll agree. I guess I'll throw it to Valiant Comics, which I throw it to a lot because they did something that I really ended up liking. They had this storyline, or like this set of stories called 4000 AD. So they jumped way to the year 4000. And so nothing that matters now matters then. So you don't have to worry about any story stuff, any continuity stuff, because this is like 2,000 years into the future. And I wish a lot of stories would do that. Now, we did see Star Trek Discovery do that. They jumped 1,000 years into the future. So you did see that, and now they're not hampered really by the stuff that goes on in Next Generation or Voyager or Deep Space Nine or original trilogy. I mean, original series, any of that. They're able to kind of be free to chart their own path, and I'm like, we should do that in Star Wars. You need to jump, stop playing with this middle time. But I know Star Wars is a very interesting property. And I understand them wanting to keep a certain group of people happy.
Yes.
So they're trying to stay within this like 10-year period of like, because this between 3 and 4, that's like about 20 years or so.
I think it's about
maybe
20 years.
So they're
like
trying to stay in this 20-year period. And it's like,
yeah. It might be 29
so
years. It's somewhere
more.
in there, 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
I just wish
there's so much more to do.
There's so much more to do. There's so much more. There's so many more stories to tell. That like you could do a hero's journey with another character, wholly separate from the Skywalker saga. I mean, like they did that with Rey, but it was like, no.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there because we're going to bring in all these other old school characters.
Because they essentially circled her around to be a Skywalker.
Yeah. I know. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what they forced
She could
so
have been
many
cool
things.
on her own, but they
yeah.
It's like they couldn't let it go. Let the past. I will give Rian Johnson this. Let the past go. Let it die. Why are we bringing the Emperor back? But now I guess he's dead. So I mean, that. But
what I think what
Ryan burying the lightsaber and just.
Yeah, I mean, Rian Johnson, I think, was trying to do something that was worthy of attempting to do, but not as the second movie in the trilogy.
No,
you know what I mean?
What Rian Johnson was doing is kind of like I said. Let's jump 2,000 years into the future and then do his idea.
Yes.
But as a second movie in the trilogy, it's like, hold up, what? But I thought we were going in this direction. But then that's also because J.J. Abrams was probably a little emotional about getting flamed online, so he left.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the same people that hated on him that made him leave are the same people that cheered when he came back.
I know. It's crazy. All right, so let's do this. Those will be the last thing we do, and then we can close out the show. Because I mean, you and I could talk Star Wars all day long, but let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's go back through and talk about from the moment we see Obi-Wan, because between the two of us, we've got enough Star Wars knowledge that we can pull this off, I think. Let's talk about when you think about where Obi-Wan is going to end up, and we know where it's going to go after the Kenobi series is over with. So let's just start recapping. Like, Kenobi is born. I don't believe there's many comics about him being a kid. Do you know any comics or any books about him being a kid?
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah, I don't know much about him either. The first time we see him is that when he shows up in the prequel trilogy. And in the prequel trilogy, that's when he's already a Padawan learner working underneath Qui-Gon.
He's already kind of on his way to being a knight by the time we
He's real close.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the little braid, so
he does have the braid.
Yeah. So we've got that, and how would we characterize him there? He's basically he's sort of Obi-Wan in that era, in the Phantom Menace era, is sort of like the ideal trainee. Like, he asks enough questions that he wants to figure it out.
He doesn't overstep.
He never oversteps. Yeah, exactly.
He is not a habitual line stepper.
Yeah, he's the Jedi of the month almost every time. Like, every time it's like, this is the guy. And he's very open to learning from Qui-Gon. He realizes that Qui-Gon has a lot of knowledge that even the Jedi Council doesn't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
Right? Because
even he kind of gets shut down a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And Qui-Gon has a different kind of thinking than the Jedi Council has, even though some of it's pretty controversial. He's going around testing people for midichlorian counts. But then
oh man, why do we have to bring that up?
You might, we kind of have to every once in a while. But so let me ask you this: talk to me about what you see from Obi-Wan Kenobi's character, because you did a really good job of describing him as the detective. So what do we see about him in the Clone Wars and then moving into Attack of the Clones? Like, how would you characterize his character through that whole period of his life?
And that point, when we're talking about Clone Wars, I would say that Obi-Wan is someone who realizes that I'm at master level, but I need to be out here because I don't think he really agrees with the council's slow moving nature.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like when if you're an artist and you're like, great artist, you're a graphic designer, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, we want you to be an art director. And you become an art director and you're like, oh, I don't do any art anymore. I'm a manager essentially. Like, oh, so I'm not, so I don't get to make anything anymore.
Yeah.
I kind of miss making things. And I think he realizes that you can't really be in, because even as much as he tries to be cool, I think Obi-Wan likes being out in the adventure, even though he tries to pretend like, I think he likes it.
Yeah.
And I think he also knows that there needs to be someone with his skill set and with his demeanor out there that's willing to either overlook things like Anakin and Amidala, or someone who can kind of let Ahsoka go on her own and do her own thing.
Yeah.
Because most masters are not going to let you do that, and that kind of thing. Yeah. Also, someone who can. I don't think that he believes that anyone else would be like, okay, yeah, let me go on and just look up this this strange Jedi, and this is because it seemed when he went to the council, they were just like, oh yeah, whatever. It was just like, no, like I have to. So he went to the library, he went, asked questions, he went to the planet, like all of these things that the council didn't really seem, I guess, too excited, or they didn't feel like there was a season, like a sense of urgency. And I think with that said, on the low, I don't think that Obi-Wan thought that the council was making the right decisions as far as how they moved during that time. I don't think he agreed with them, but I think he respected them enough to let them make their own decisions, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's a good.
He definitely did not follow their kind of rules.
True. Well, I think that characterization is perfect, because basically what you're saying is that he's a guy that he's like, leave the politics to the politicians, and that's the council, right? Yeah. Like the council's doing their politicking, and what Obi-Wan says is, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go do the detective work, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask the questions. So, well, the council is saying like, yeah, I mean, Saifa Diaz, like, who cares what he did, right? Like, we don't even care. Obi-Wan's like, actually, this could be critical.
Or we haven't seen him, or he's disqualified or whatever.
Right, exactly. And so I think that there's a piece of it where Obi-Wan is, like you said, he wants to be part of the action. He wants to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And he sees the politics as like, well, I have to respect that. I'm not going to get out of line, but I don't think the way they're going about their business is the way that we should go about our business. And so he gets hands-on, whether it's in the fights or whatever. But I also think that they do a good job in the Clone Wars of Obi-Wan embodying that, like, let's ask the question. Like one of the things that I can just picture in my head is Obi-Wan kind of just stroking his animated beard, like, oh yeah, how does this work? Well, let's go check it out. And he's not as rash as Anakin is, where Anakin's just like, let's just jump in there and like, let's kill some people.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And so he's got that sort of like questioning attitude. But what's interesting is, because he is reliant on the politics for his way of life to be successful, it still crumbles down around him, because he can't just be who he is, because he's associated with those politics. And it's kind of a sad story, because you could easily say like, look, Obi-Wan wasn't a party to all. I mean, he was sort of a party to their dealings, but not integrated into their dealings. Like, he didn't agree with them, but because he was lumped in with them, he had to deal with the results of that. That's really interesting. I had never thought of that before until you brought that up. That kind of context.
There's so many. It's just, oh man, when you look at it, because I can see where, and I mean, we don't get any scenes where he kind of speaks bad about the council, but you can see he definitely doesn't agree. Because I mean, I can see him being like, "All right, you guys are just sitting up in here.
Yeah,
the war is going crazy.
Yeah,
You guys aren't coming up with any new plans or developments. We don't know who's behind this Sith thing. You don't even really look like you're researching that or trying to investigate that.
Yeah.
Like you're just sitting here pontificating all day, but I don't think he would ever say that.
Right, because the only person he says it to is he says it to Anakin. He goes, "You have to respect the council, Anakin, but I don't agree with them. Also, Anakin, be careful about Senator Palpatine because he seems pretty shady over here."
I still wish I could just change like a small thing.
Oh yeah. Tell me what it is.
Jason and I did a long video where we were like playing around with what could happen. Imagine Bail Organa seeing Palpatine use the Force and kill another senator that didn't agree with him on an off chance.
Yeah.
So the whole prequels, Bail Organa is trying to get a one-on-one with the Jedi to convince them and convince other people like this guy is a fraud. This guy, but no, because at least somebody knows. You gotta have someone has to know that this guy, like everybody's just walking around. He's super shady, but everybody's like, well, because we'll just let him be in charge. Like nobody's trying to stop him.
It's
true. So if we had someone in Bail Organa trying to get them to kind of like believe him and then being dispatched, aka killed, by the end of the first movie, then triggering maybe Obi-Wan and another one to be like, hey, we never got that meeting with the council, but this is a very suspicious death. Like,
right.
Let's start looking into, and then we have at least a little more suspicion on Palpatine. Palpatine just cakewalks through these movies like, you're manipulated, and you're manipulated, and you're manipulated.
That's so true.
It's like, is anyone like a little leery of this guy at all?
Yeah, totally.
Maybe it's because he's old. They're like, how bad could he be?
Yeah, exactly. He's the Bernie Sanders of this. Don't worry about him. I think
how bad could he be? He's an old guy.
Yeah. I think I'm down. I mean, the conversation that when you had me on your show and I got to talk to Jason about Moon Knight, that was fantastic. Like that was a fun conversation. So I'm down with whatever you and Jason come up with for ideas. So then moving past that, we get an Obi-Wan who is becoming increasingly skeptical of everything in Revenge of the Sith. And interestingly enough, in the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which I haven't read all the way through, but I've heard a lot of people talk about, there's a lot more implications of Anakin thinks that Padme and Obi-Wan are actually hooking up, which is why he's got the jealousy thing going on. Yeah. So so even though there's no evidence of that, there's some evidence that Padme is worried about Anakin, so she's talking to Obi-Wan, and he sees that as like a love thing when she's just worried. Exactly.
She's sleeping around.
Exactly. So
wow.
So
because see, those are the things that in the movie you see him kind of have this little attitude with Obi-Wan. You're like, where did that come? Oh man,
exactly.
If I could just change the directors. The general storyline, like the overarching story, like, hey, we start here, we end up here. I'm cool with.
Yes.
I think the actual writing, maybe tweak some things.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is not really even expressed in the film.
Exactly. That jealousy is almost like if you go back into a Shakespearean quality of like, it's almost like an Othello type of thing, right? Like where it's like, like, Desdemona is there's these rumors being spread, and now I'm jealous, and jealousy eats itself, and so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that vibe, but it's not followed very much, right? Like we don't see it, so it's hard. So So, but then Obi-Wan is sort of like, though his world is falling down around him because his Jedi Knight that he's training is falling apart. The Jedi Council is falling apart. And so in that film, Obi-Wan goes from like the detective guy who's like, in fact, if we could make an argument that if Obi-Wan had been listened to and his perspective had been followed, the one from Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars, they may never have ended up where they ended up because the Jedi Council voted against Anakin. That upset Anakin.
Yeah.
Anakin didn't feel accepted at all. The Jedi Council was
He always
deceived
kind of
by
felt like an
Palpatine.
outcast.
Always felt like an outcast. But Kenobi was the one who was doing the research to figure out what was going on and trying to support Anakin. So if they had followed Kenobi's guidelines, they might have actually made it through all of that without Anakin going full dark side and then Palpatine blowing up basically the rest of the world and the rest of the Republic.
Yeah.
And now...
And then we wouldn't have had this last minute, like, oh, let's go to Palpatine's room. And it's like, no, this is like the wrong... Like, he already has pretty much all the power now.
Yes. Totally true. So, okay, so we end Revenge of the Sith with Ben Kenobi pursuing things that would have been amazing, but nobody could make the connections. And so everything crumbles down around him. Order 66 happens. Then the next time we're going to see him is in this Kenobi series. So let's just fast forward really quick. We know where he's going to appear in A New Hope. And then slightly before that, we know that he encounters Darth Maul. So that Kenobi, how does that Kenobi feel to you? The Darth Maul through the rest of the original trilogy.
The Kenobi that we meet like in Rebels and kind of like this one that I guess we'll get is more kind of I dig it. This kind of, and maybe I could be wrong. We'll see what happens on Friday. Yeah. But this kind of like guardian angel, silent sentry kind of thing where, but it's still at the same time, like he must be trained because it's like, look, we don't, even though it's like, well, you got to know that no, you can't openly search for Force-sensitive kids because there's a Inquisitor. So you only know of one. You really only know of one, possible two. You don't know about Leia. You know, she's on Alderaan.
Right.
And I mean, I guess maybe she hadn't displayed any kind of like talents or anything. So yeah, I see him saying like, looking at him like, you know, you're our only hope. They say, you know, hey, I'm too old to fight the Empire. You know, I'm getting older. I've got the experience, but my body won't do what my body used to be able to do. Yeah. So but you have that like little small period of time, kind of like when he took down Darth Maul. But then after that, it's kind of like, you know, I mean, even though, I mean, even now, I'm sure Jordan could crush a couple people in one-on-one. Yeah. But could he play pro? Right. Now, still got to give him props for in his age. And the Wizards was still like putting up like 20 a game. Right, and they're like, whoa, that's super impressive. Yeah. But, you know, after that, could he, you know, so you have to find someone else to kind of pick up the mantle. I'll give you all the experience that I can, but I can't fight this fight anymore.
Right.
So I see him kind of being that guardian angel, that silent sentry, and then also maybe putting the right amount, but maybe too much stock in Luke. Maybe putting too much like, look, this is the only chance we got. You know, his son, you know, not only will his son be force sensitive most likely, but maybe his son is the only one who can get through to him. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So maybe that's what he's thinking. And yes, he is able to get through to him, but it takes a long time. But I mean, I think that's the kind of guy that I see getting from him, because he's not even, when he beats Darth Maul, it's not like he's not excited about it.
Right.
He's not really happy about it. He's just like, this is unfortunately something that I had to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I guess that'll also come out of, you know, whatever happens in this series, we'll get those small pieces.
Yes.
Because this is supposed to be just 6 episodes and that's it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll see.
Well, okay, so to your point, like one of the things that we know about Obi-Wan in the original trilogy is that the last Obi-Wan we saw was coming down off of like a high of saying like, I think I've got it figured out. I think I've got the detective work. I think we can make Anakin the chosen one. I think everything's on the path to the right direction. And then it was like, boom, it's all gone. It's all bad. So my only thing is that I don't think that my worry is that this series will do to Obi-Wan what was done to Luke. Now, I didn't mind what was done to Luke, but you brought it up. How it was done to Luke was a little bit more difficult to swallow. So I think we better prepare ourselves for Obi-Wan to not be the only area that he can really win in this series is overcoming the Inquisitors, because he's still afraid of Darth Vader. By the time New Hope's scroll starts to roll, he's still afraid of Darth Vader. He still is not able to give Luke like confident advice. He gives Luke things like, don't go see Vader, like stay away, be a little bit, and that's all fear-based, and we know that Jedi are not supposed to fear. So I feel like in this series we're not going to be able to see like heroic Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're going to see kind of a guy who's learning how to become a hermit almost, and I think we all better prepare for that. You know what I mean?
And maybe someone maybe someone who's a little more scared than we expect.
Yes.
Because that's okay. Star Wars, here's another thing. Tragedy can, destroy people.
Yes.
Tragedy can also make people work harder.
Yeah.
It can also inspire people.
Totally.
Why are none of the Jedi ever inspired? It's a cheap trope, and I know Hollywood does it in general, but everyone who experiences tragedy or experiences a loss or fails at a certain thing doesn't have to straight go into depression.
Right, true.
They could take some time, pick themselves back up, and try even harder next time.
Yep. That's possible. That's what DC and Marvel have done with their characters forever. You know what I mean? Like a lot of their characters are inspired by tragedy to become somebody who's even better.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Is there anything else you wanted to cover, Michael?
I just wanted to say that enjoy this, guys. Here's why I say enjoy this. I was born in 1982. All right. So I was born in 82.
Yeah.
I saw some very poor quality genre entertainment, whether it's horror, sci-fi, comics, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. We are in a golden age. We got tons of stuff. There's like 4 Star Trek shows. Harry Potter it's kind of the prequel, but that's a movie coming. You got Thor on the way. She-Hulk is getting a show. Boba Fett just had a show. Like we got, of course, we talk about Obi-Wan. That's coming. There's tons. Boys is coming back. Invincible has a season 2. There's something that you like. You don't have to spend your time hating, because hate leads to the dark side.
That's
all right.
That's right.
Find something. There's tons of stuff to enjoy. You don't have to fight about stuff you don't like. If you don't like it, just go watch something else. There's way too much for you to be a geek and unhappy now. All right, because I've been in the dark days. All right, I've been in the dark days.
That's right.
All right, I've seen that first Captain America. All right, I've seen that. All right, that's all we had. It was tough. Right?
People forget that when in our generation, the cartoons didn't exist to be good stories and cartoons. The cartoons existed to sell us toys. They were commercials for toys.
Like they ended up being cool, but they were existing to make money.
Exactly. So I totally agree with you. And we got Star Wars Celebration coming up this weekend as well. So we got lots of Star Wars stuff coming out. If Kenobi is not your thing, you're gonna have something that will be your thing. Just hang in there; it'll be good. But tell me about the shows that you've got coming up. Tell me about a little bit of what's going on with NERDSoul, and tell everybody where they can find you.
What do we have? All right, so coming up this weekend, Young Justice, maybe a little Kenobi. because Halo's done. So maybe maybe a little Kenobi, a little piece, a little Kenobi. Definitely Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. We're gonna do some gaming topics. I know for sure. Cool. I don't know what album we're reviewing this week, so it'll be some. We did Kendrick Lamar last week.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you if you did that.
Yeah, we did Kendrick Lamar. I don't know what we'll be doing this week, but we'll be doing something. So yeah, there's tons of stuff on the channel. If you like talking about gaming, you can come hang with us. If you like talking about Young Justice, which is on the way to the end, sadly, but I guess happily, because this is another show that normally we wouldn't have gotten, because remember, Cartoon Network deaded that show long ago.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we got on the way. And where you can find me, of course, is NERDSoul, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Hit that thumbs up. If you like what you're seeing, of course you do. It's Story Geeks. Of course you like seeing it. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share all that stuff. Because hey, look, sharing is caring. And you care. Show us you care. And even if you don't care, pretend like you care and share it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Do all of that. Yes, absolutely. Definitely follow Michael. I have a group of friends that I call like my old school podcasting friends, and Michael is one of those people. We go all the way back to when I first started doing stuff. And so definitely follow all of his stuff. Now I have one more question before I let you go. And my last question is this. Donda, Drake's new album, or Kendrick?
Kendrick easily. Kendrick easily. That's too easy. Donda was snoozy for me.
Oh, really? You didn't like it that much?
Drake was kind of okay, but Kendrick is like on another level right now.
Kendrick has been on another level for a while. That dude.
Yeah, he's on this is like 4 albums. I mean, he's getting ready to go into kind of legendary status. Like, I mean, this is, I think, number 4 where it's been like straight solid. Like, so yeah.
Well, I always feel like this. I always feel like this about Kendrick. I feel like Kendrick can he can appease the masses.
Yeah.
But he always has something to say. Because like
definitely. Drake
runs out of things to say, and then he's like, I'm sexy, y'all. Like just listen to my album, right? And so like I can deal with that to a degree. But then you have Kanye, who either has something great to say or something crazy to say, and you don't know which one you're gonna get. But Kendrick is always bringing something that's like, oh, that's gonna make me think for a while.
Yeah, like he makes albums where you have to kind of go back a couple times to listen again. Yeah. So that's I haven't listened to the whole album yet, so I gotta listen to some more of that. But thank you so much for joining me. I'm always interested in your opinion on Star Wars, and now I'm really interested in your opinions on hip hop too. So all of the above. Really awesome to have Michael Young from NERDSoul on the show. Please go give him a follow and check out his stuff. Great content. Like I said on the show, he's one of my oldest podcasting friends, and really happy to have him here. Also, if you're interested in my steampunk fantasy western mashup, that's also a full cast audiobook. That is 11 voice performers voicing 14 different characters, which is super fun. And so you can support the show by picking up a copy of Death of a Bounty Hunter. It's about a desperate sheriff who will do anything to save his daughter and a bounty hunter who realizes he can no longer run from the truth. Links to Death of a Bounty Hunter are in the description down below. If you're just listening, go to www.deathofabountyhunter.com and check it out there. Now, I am going to play a sample from Death of a Bounty Hunter at the end of this show after I read the outro. So just stay tuned for that, because you can actually hear what it is like to listen to a full cast audiobook. But that is it for today's show. Special thanks to Michael Young from NERDSoul for joining me today. Join me live on YouTube or Facebook every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time. Shows will post to the podcast feed later that same day. If you have a topic or a question you'd like for me to discuss, please leave me a comment or shoot me an email at hi@reclamationsociety.org. I'd love to include your questions in a future show. I'll also be recording
shorter shows throughout the week. I do some trailer reactions, or if I have some thinking about a story that I want to put out there, I record shorter videos throughout the week as well. So make sure you're subscribed to get notified of all the latest content. You can subscribe to the Story Geek Show on our YouTube channel or on your preferred podcast provider if you prefer the audio only version. Thank you for watching. Please go support Michael, and I will see you on the next show.
The stagecoach looks like a mobile vault. Iron girders and thick steel plates protect the cargo hold. Thin slits run along the fuselage. Gun ports for the guard inside. In the rear, the coach boasts an elevated enclosed metal turret with a Gatling gun. Based on all the gears, it looks like the rear turret can rotate all the way around to defend against frontal attacks as well. Impressive. An elaborate gear and sprocket-driven tread system replaces the more common axle and wheel setup. The coach's steam engine, which I can't see, must be state-of-the-art based on how heavy the thing is. A large sphere, big enough for a small man, or in this case, a woman, is mounted to the front of the rectangular carriage. The bottom half of the sphere is steel-plated like the rest of the coach, but the top half is a thick, curved pane of glass. Inside the sphere, the coach's driver leans forward to peer into the night at Gary.
Whoa! What the hell?
She says. She cranks a lever to rotate the sphere. Its lone headlight illuminates Gary. That's when I notice the two nozzles on the front. Some type of rapid-fire guns. Maybe those new bullet hoses I keep hearing about. Even more impressive. Gary takes a draw from his cigar. His Gatling gun arm is at his side. Not a threat. Not yet, anyway.
Best move, big fella. I won't ask twice and I'd rather not kill you.
Says the guy in the rear turret. You're up, banker. I say to Warburton. He glances over at me, then nods and clears his throat.
Hello there!
The rear turret rotates to point the Gatling gun in our direction. In the spherical cockpit, the driver peers up at us through the glass.
Nothing to be afraid of. It's me, Mr. Ellis Warburton II. Financier, banker, speculator, capitalist, and esteemed owner of First Third of the Fifth, Bank of Jericho, LLC. We met earlier this very evening. I trust y'all remember.
Mr. Warburton, that really you?
Indeed. Apologies for the, surprise. I'm afraid it couldn't be helped.
There are problems, sir?
Why, yes, as a matter of fact, there is. You see, an error was made earlier this evening in Jericho. We gave y'all a package, mistakenly, I'm afraid. And we need to reclaim that package from y'all post-haste.
That wouldn't happen to be the package paid for and insured by Mr. Stephen Matheson, would it, Mr. What you say your name was?
The third voice comes from inside the coach. I bristle and glance over at Warburton. He raises his bushy white eyebrows and shakes his head to indicate he doesn't know the man, then mouths the word Pinkerton to me. The one Matheson hired, I think. The package Stephen Matheson put on that coach is stolen property. We need it back.
Mr. Matheson warned me about this. I'm afraid that package stays on this stagecoach till Atlantisville. If somebody else has a legal right to it, that can be sorted out there.
Atlantisville is too far. I need the Iron Spur now, I think. I called down to the Pinkerton. Stephen Matheson is a liar. That package is coming back with us.
Now, fellas, let's all take a deep breath here, all right? Who's that with you, Mr. Warburton?
Name's Deckard. I'm the sheriff of Jericho.
And a fine one at that, to be sure. A lawman, certainly and factually. Look here, friends, we don't want any trouble either. But to Sheriff Deckard's point, what y'all carrying is, stolen property. The right to which Stephen Matheson has none.
And if that's true, we'll work it out. In Atlantisville.
Says the Pinkerton. My blood starts to boil. The banker opens his mouth to speak, but I throw him a look that tells him to shut up. He does. I look across the canyon at Tats, then down at Gary, and I give them both a nod. Gritting my teeth, I shake my head and then say to the Pinkerton, "Nah, we'll work it out now."